Hi, my name is Annie Knock, and I'm going to show you how to make this face mask. This particular face mask has a pocket in the back where you can insert a filter. We're using furnace filters. This is a MERV 13 furnace filter that filters out virus particles. I've cut them into squares, and then I would insert that into the back of the filter. Along the front edge of the mask, along the top, I've incorporated a pipe cleaner so that the mask can bend and fit across the top of your nose with a snug fit. For the straps, I'm using felt that I've cut into strips 36 inches long and 1 1/4 inch wide. I'm using the felt because I think it allows people to tighten the mask tighter against their face. Other people have been using elastic, though I know elastic is now in short supply. We're going to now show you how to make the mask. Okay, so I mentioned that we are using a furnace filter, specifically a MERV 13. And when I mentioned that it filters out virus particles, I should clarify that it filters out the particles in the air that carry the viruses. So just wanted to clear that up. Anyway, what we're gonna do is you're gonna take this out of the box. This is kind of a long process, but once you get it out of the box, there's a wire on the back of it, and you're gonna need to remove that wire as well. Once you get it out of the box and you get the wire all off, you're gonna end up with a nice big piece of fabric. And obviously it's gonna be much larger than the actual furnace filter because it's an accordion style filter. And then, as I mentioned, we are gonna cut this into 5.5 by 5.5 inch squares. And then those will be placed into the pocket in the filter. Okay, so here we are with our piece of fabric. This particular piece, I'm making a mask for an adult. So it's 8 inches by 16 inches. They are suggesting that we use 100% cotton fabric for these projects. You wanna make sure that you pre-wash all the fabric that you're using, including the felt that you are using for the straps, to make sure everything is pre-shrunk so that when they wash them later, they won't shrink on them. I'm going to attach also a chart for different sizes for children, adults, and teenagers. Okay, let's get started. Okay, so here we are at the ironing board. The first thing we want to do is put it so that the nice side is down, and we are going to fold over the top edge and iron it like 1/4 inch over. My iron I don't think is hot yet, so this may take a little second here. It had been resting. Then you're gonna fold it over again. Other videos that I've seen don't do this step. They just fold it over once, like 1/2 inch, and sew it. But if people are washing these and reusing them, I'm just worried that if we don't encase the raw edge, then we're gonna have it fraying after numerous washings. So I'm just taking this extra step and folding it over and ironing it. Before we start sewing, we're gonna cut some pipe cleaners that I mentioned that we put into the face mask. So these are just regular sized pipe cleaners, and we are cutting them roughly right in half, okay? So we're gonna take those with us over to the sewing machine. Okay, so we are gonna do this kind of an assembly line style. So I have a bunch of these already pre-cut. I'm gonna put them on my lap. I'm gonna start with the first one, and we're going to place it under our sewing machine here. We fold it all the way over. Now, because we're gonna be sewing that edge later, I'm not gonna worry about back stitching to incorporate that edge. So we're just gonna go ahead and start. And then we're gonna stop, and we're gonna grab our next one, and we're gonna keep going. And grab our next one. All right, last one, and then we will show you where we go now. All right. Now we trim that. Now we're going to go back and we're going to just cut in between here. What's nice about doing it this way too is you don't have a bunch of long threads. If you did them one at a time, you would. Like here at this end, you have the long threads. Okay, now we're going to go over to the other side. Now this is the side we're going to need to incorporate the pipe cleaner. So we're going to take this edge, we're going to put the pipe cleaner in here, and we're just going to fold it over the pipe cleaner. You want to make sure it's pretty much even between the two sides. We're going to come back over here. We're going to start right there. Get that nice and tight. And we're going to go just on here's the pipe cleaner on this side, and so we're going to stitch on the other side of the pipe cleaner. You don't want to stitch on the pipe cleaner. And then we get down here. Again, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do assembly line fashion. Grab the next one and fold it over into the seam. Nice and tight. Okay, now I would continue normally and do 10 or so at a time, but for this purpose we're going to just stop there. Trim that. Trim that. Okay, so our next step now is okay, so we now have our piece of fabric. We've got the one end with the pipe cleaner in it, the other is just folded over. We're going to take the edge with the pipe cleaner, we're going to match it up to the top, and I like to just put it a little tiny bit higher than the back side, just like that, and then we go and we do a fold. So there's probably about a ½ inch right there that we have folded under, and I use these wonderful Wonder Clips to hold them in place. And then we do our next fold and we fold it over. Another Wonder Clip. We're going to put 3 folds all together. So that was our second, and then this is our third. As you can see, I'm not using a ruler or anything, I'm just eyeballing it. Okay, so now we have that all pinned together, and now we're going to put our straps on. Okay, so here is the felt that I am using to make the face mask straps. I got this from Joann Fabric. It comes 72 inches wide. So I'm making each of the straps 36 inches long. So the first thing that you would want to do is to cut this in half. So you can just run your scissors up the side and cut it in half. All right, I would continue the whole length, but for purposes of this video, I'm going to just stop at that point. Then I fold it over like this, just so it makes it easier to reach across the whole width as you're cutting. And I'm going to use my rotary cutter to do this. I have the larger sized rotary cutter, so it can go through all 4 of these layers. If you have the smaller one, you may only be able to go through 2 layers at a time. And then I'm just going to eyeball this. I mentioned that I'm making the straps 1 1/4 inches wide. I'm not measuring, I'm just eyeballing for speed and efficiency. And then there's our straps, okay? 36 inches by 1 1/2 or 1 1/4 inches wide. So these are the ties or the straps that we're going to be sewing onto the face masks. As you can see, I've got a bunch that are already pre-cut. I'll show you how I do that later. For this particular one, I think maybe we'll try this blue one. So we're going to need 2 for each, 1 for each side. I've cut them 36 inches long, and they're a little over 1 inch thick. If you make it narrower than that, it's hard to encase the sides of the mask. So we're going to start with the first one, and again, you can do this assembly line style as well, and it definitely makes it faster, and then you don't have as many raw edges and threads. Okay, so we're going to start here. We're folding this over, kind of like if you were making a bias tape. We're going to start, we're going to back stitch, and once we get going, I then fold this over so I can find the middle of this. This is important because that's where I know I need the mask to go in. And we're going to continue sewing until we get down to that Wonder Clip. Actually, we're going to stop a little shy of the Wonder Clip. So about right there. take the clip out. Now we're going to slide this over, and we're going to incorporate the mask in there and fold this over nice and tight, and then continue stitching right on down, making sure you get all those raw edges of the mask. And then we can just continue down. And when we get down here, we're going to backstitch again. And then this is where we can do assembly line style. We can grab the next one for the next mask, and we can keep going. We got it. Once we get it started, we fold this back over. We find our middle, mark that, and we keep going down. So we get almost to the wonder clip. All right, there's our wonder clip. Now I'll show you how we would do the other side right now. So here we go. Take those clips off. Fold that in there. Make sure that piece is up. Sometimes they get turned over. And we continue sewing along. Until we get to the end, back stitch, and then we would put our next piece. Okay, so here we are with our finished mask. I hope this helps everybody out there that's trying to make masks during this terrible time. Of course, please feel free to share this video with anyone. And everyone, please stay well. Take care. We will get through this.